Welcome to the Pre-Health Pod. My name is Lexi,
And I'm Sarah.
and we're a podcast by students for students who've been through undergrad, are going through application processes, and are here to meet you wherever you are. Hey, Sarah, how's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Well, in this exciting episode, we're going to talk to Sarah Kubrick later, who's known as the Millennial Therapist on Instagram and other social media platforms. And she's such an icon, and I really enjoyed talking to her.
Me too.
Yeah.
She is so cool. I cannot believe she was willing to join our podcast and speak with us. I
I
feel
know.
like I have a little bit of imposter syndrome here. Like we are not cool enough to be talking to someone as awesome as her.
Yeah.
She just wrote a book too. It's called It's On Me. It releases tomorrow. So definitely
Yeah.
check that out. I think it has a lot of really good information about mental health and just kind of finding yourself and helping yourself really. But I also think it's going to be better than the regular self-help books. I am a super big supporter of self-help books. I've read them. I've encouraged other people to read them, and hers, I think, is more than that. It's going to be a really good book. I've read all the little synopses for it, and I actually pre-ordered it too. So definitely check that out when it drops tomorrow. I'm excited. But yeah, in this episode, we talked all about imposter syndrome. I have it. You probably have it.
I don't know any
Lexi has it.
real student who does it.
We all experience it. It's our most common thing shared, I think. We can all relate on that subject at least.
Don't let the system beat you down. That's the common theme.
Yeah. And don't let yourself beat yourself down either.
Yeah.
You really have to keep on yourself, keep reminding yourself that you're important, you're doing great things, you're successful. But we talk all about that in the episode. So I would much rather talk about you, Lexi. What's going
on? Secondary, still going. It's a common theme. What? And working. Yeah, we recently ended the National Pre-Health Conference, I think about, a month ago at the time of this dropping. And that's insane. It went so well. We had over 1,500 people register for the event and hundreds of people attend. And oh my gosh, I'm just blown away by the support we've received from our community, and our guest speakers just emailing me left and right and being like, I want to do another event or come on the podcast. And it's just so heartwarming and so cool to see. And I just am excited for all our future events that we're doing soon.
Yeah. Currently we are in the thick of planning for the research symposium. That's going to take place on October 21st.
Yeah.
October 21st. It's a Saturday. That's going to be great. We have a great keynote speaker lined up, as well as a couple of other fun surprises for you. So definitely head to the website and register if you haven't yet, because you're not going to want to miss this one. Or even if you have research to present, feel free to submit it. We'd love to look into it and possibly have you present your research.
Yeah, we'll launch an application shortly. It might already be launched. Go check out our website at nationalprehealthconf.org for more information. If you'd like to be a presenter and present your research and get great presentation experience, or be a supporter and attend our research symposium while also hearing great advice from our keynotes, which will be pre-med or pre-PA or pre-health related, something like that. We'll let you know soon. But yeah, secondaries as well, just writing. I'm at the time of this recording, halfway. I think I've submitted a little over 10, and I got 10 more to go. Woo! And I've received almost all of them except for 4.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and after we record this, I will go be working on them.
Yeah. At the time of this recording, I still have not heard back from any other PA schools except the one that sent me a beautiful little rejection letter. It's okay. I'm just waiting. It's a big waiting game applying to PA school. So we'll see what happens. I'll let you know as soon as I know. But otherwise, I'm getting married. So
I was going to say, I'm this is the big week. I'm so excited. Your tone, no, you got to be more.
I'm just kidding. I'm a sarcastic person. I hope that shows in the podcast and you guys just don't think I'm weird. but yeah, I'm getting married next weekend. By the time that this is released, it was a while ago. But I'm excited. I honestly, I can't wait. And I even more can't wait for our honeymoon. I'm so ready to unplug and just not talk to anyone or do
Yeah.
anything for a solid week. I can't wait. I feel like I've been go, go, go for like 5 or 6 months now, and I'm ready to
Yeah.
just chillax on a giant cruise ship and do nothing.
Oh yeah, you're going on a cruise. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Bliss.
I'm really excited. My fiance plans the whole thing, which is my favorite thing about him. He just plans everything.
Yeah, when you told me your fiance's bachelorette party was on a cruise, I thought that was genius.
Oh yeah, he also planned, so for his bachelor party, he is on a cruise.
Yeah.
He's
And I
on
think
he's at his
bachelorette.
bachelor party right now. But honestly, it was genius for them.
Yeah. No
I
DD,
I know,
like
no DD.
no
They
Ubers.
don't have to worry about food or where they're staying or
Yeah.
like traveling to different locations or planning things to do. It's all just on the boat or
Yeah.
at the port when they dock. Like I'm like genius. That I mean, it's such a man thing to choose the easiest possible thing to do, I guess.
Well, I'm so doing that. And I just want to say thank you for whenever I get married, which
You're
will
welcome.
probably be forever in the future.
You're welcome. Happy to contribute.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I am so excited for your wedding. I just love parties and free food. Just kidding.
She's not kidding.
I know we're turning it into a vacation too and staying at like a resort on the way there and back. And we're gonna like go kayaking and sit by the
Fun.
pool. And oh, I'm just so excited for a break. I'm so
Yeah,
excited. But
I feel ya.
we're like road tripping there for several hours. I'm gonna like download all my secondaries and work on them in the car. So we'll see if I get car sick. But
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah, honestly, I'm really hoping that I don't get anything from PA schools in the next couple weeks,
yeah, it's
just
so sad.
because it's going to be busy getting married and then going on a honeymoon. But if I do, I will jump on it, I guess, and figure
Yeah.
it out. But we'll
Oh my
see.
God.
Taking it day by day.
I know it's so hard for pre-health and medical students and PA students and whatnot just to do normal life things.
Seriously. You
Yeah.
don't know what's around the corner anymore.
I know. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's pretty much us. I
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any fun stories.
feel like I'm boring right now. All I'm doing is writing. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. I'm just writing and writing and writing and working.
Ooh,
And
okay. I have a little victory. So at the OBGYN clinic I work at, I got a phlebotomy certificate and I work as their phlebotomist too, as well as
oh,
an
cool.
MA. But like, yeah, I got this phlebotomy certificate, but I got the certificate after only actually drawing someone's blood twice, which is insane to me. The fact that I now just get to draw people's blood, but whatever. And when I started doing it at the clinic, I was like, this is hard. And a lot of times I'd miss, honestly, and I'd have to poke people. I never poked anyone more than twice, but poking someone
Yeah.
twice makes me feel bad. I felt like I wasn't doing a very good job. And this last week, I don't know if I was just getting good arms, but I was rolling. I was doing such a good job. I didn't have to
Wow.
poke someone twice a single time. I was so proud of myself. So there's my little victory of the week. I'm turning into a better phlebotomist.
God. I've never had that like that patient experience like that where I like touched a patient or poked them. Because as a scribe, you're like not allowed to, at least at my hospital.
Yeah.
That was very
Yeah.
strict no.
Honestly, Lexi, maybe you should go get a phlebotomy certificate because
Yeah.
I was thinking about volunteering for the Red Cross and volunteering as a phlebotomist on the
Ooh.
weekends just to keep getting some volunteer hours and to help the Red Cross because I love
Yeah.
what they do. I
I
don't
know
know. You could look at doing that just to get some patient care experience right
I do
now.
kind of want to get back into that because I did like end my scribe job and then I took a year just to get some work experience and take my MCAT. And I'm kind of like craving getting back into the hospital.
Yeah.
So I think once I like stop writing all my secondaries, I think I'm gonna go get a volunteer position or something at the hospital near where I live.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I really like being a phlebotomist. It's cool. I like being an MA too, but honestly, I don't know. There's something about phlebotomy. It really interests me.
I this is gonna sound so silly, but I have a problem with skin. Like, like, I don't know. When you're going into medicine, people say just like there's always that one part of the body where you're just like, oh, that gives you EBGBs. Like a lot of people, it's eyeballs, or for me, it's like cutting into the skin or poking the skin, which I know I want to be a surgeon or something. But like for when I was shadowing, I just like kind of like, oh, when you did the first incision, but after that, once you're inside, it's fine. Like I'm totally cool with all of the dealing with the organs and stuff. But your face right now,
I don't know what to do with that information, Lexi.
I'm just like when I don't know, when you do the incision down the chest, like just watching the scalpel open the skin. I don't know.
Yeah.
It gives like I can get over it, but
You're gonna have to.
well, I got over it after like watching people do this all the time in the ER and like while shadowing,
Yeah.
but like it still gives me a little bit of like, ooh,
So you don't think you'd enjoy phlebotomy?
yeah, that's why. Because even like when people poke my skin, it's not that it's painful, but I just like, oh, I don't want to look at it.
See, I don't like looking at like me getting poked,
Okay.
but I can watch other people get poked. It's just when it's on my skin that I'm like, yeah. But
I
I think
feel
that's
it
just like a
though.
pain reaction.
Like when other people get poked, I'm like, ow.
Seriously?
Yeah. Is
Oh,
that a fault? Is that a fatal flaw for me going into
you'll get past it eventually, right?
yeah. I know a lot of med students like had fainted at the sight of blood, and I feel like that's a lot worse, but there's a lot of specialties where you don't have to deal with blood. So
My thing is teeth.
oh
I hate teeth. They
yeah,
give me
okay.
the heebie-jeebies. I don't want to look in someone's mouth at their teeth. I can look down their throat. I can look at their tonsils or whatever is going on in there.
Yeah.
Like check the airway, fine, whatever. If you want me to look at your teeth because you have dental pain, no. So, tap out. Someone else can do it. I hate teeth. They gross me out.
Yeah, I think honestly that's on par as well. I'm not into teeth or
Okay,
nails.
so no dentistry in our future. That's fine.
Oh my God. Well, what is your EBGB?
It's teeth.
I guess I'm asking the audience.
Oh,
If
sure.
tell us what your EBGB is, email us. We want to talk about it at nphc@nationalprehealthcomcmnf.org.
Or even easier, just DM us at prehealthpod.
Oh yeah, maybe I should do that more. DM us at PreHealthPod. Follow us, PreHealthPod, PreHealthPod.com.
Tell us your heebie-jeebie. We'll
Yeah.
reassure you, or we'll tell you you're crazy.
No, we're not supposed to tell people they're crazy, Sarah.
We're very realistic people.
Mhm. All right. Well, yeah, that's my update. Let's go ahead and transition to our conversation with Sarah Kubrick, the millennial therapist.
Alrighty, hi guys, and welcome back. We are here today with Dr. Sarah Kubrick. She is an existential psychotherapist, a consultant, a writer, and a columnist for USA Today. She's passionate about helping people seek change and live authentic, free, and meaningful lives. And she is releasing a book that's coming out here shortly. So we're really excited to meet with her and talk all about imposter syndrome. We know as fellow pre-health students that imposter syndrome is one of the most challenging things you struggle with day to day. So we really wanted to talk to an expert about how we can face this and different ways we can kind of conquer this or even just get a little bit ahead of it. So yeah, thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is such an important topic. I've experienced it myself, and probably thousands or millions of pre-med and pre-health students who want to go into healthcare experience this every day, imposter syndrome. Um, and so I actually wanted to start it off with our first question to get the ball rolling. I recognize that I likely have imposter syndrome, something I experienced in college, just like even though I got really great grades on my classes and particularly with applying to medical school, all of these activities that I filled out, medical school admissions is just still so competitive that even if you are a competitive candidate, sometimes you feel like, you didn't do everything you could or that you're not good enough. And so with that said, um, it has like affected my ability in the past to do well in school. If when you hear someone talk to you about having imposter syndrome, what do you suggest the next steps would be?
Yeah. Oh, this is such a big question. Um, I'm like, I'm concise, and I'm like, this is such a big question. No, but it truly is, and I think it's important to understand that something like pre-med or really any graduate program, it wasn't designed for your mental health. Like
Yeah,
that is not on top of their list. They weren't like, how can we make this process support the students going into medicine? It's meant to be competitive. It's meant to evoke imposture to some extent. It's meant to make people question their abilities and try even harder. It's kind of like that really unhealthy toxic relationship that you might be in. And I think
yeah,
it's really good to understand the context in which we're trying to maintain our mental health. This is not a normal thing. This is not a healthy context for most people. Obviously, I can't generalize. And so it's okay that if you're struggling. So, all this to say is you're so not alone. I think most people feel this way when they're in a situation such as applying for anything, starting anything new, dreaming big. Um, I think
yeah,
what's really helpful is I mean, there's so many steps that you can consider doing. The first one, though, would be consider your why. I think
yeah,
what we start to do is compare our worth and our chances and feel like our future depends on comparison to other people, and it becomes a very external process. Like, I know this person, they had these activities, I know that they had this interview question and they got in or they didn't get in, and it becomes so external that we lose sight as to like, why did I want to become a doctor? Why did I want to
yeah,
become a psych? Why am I even going into this? What is the meaning and the worth that the meaning I'm deriving and the worth that I'm bringing to this profession? And I think it's so important to just take it back and make it a personal experience that is about you and that is about what you want to contribute and the difference you want to make. So
yeah.
that's one step. We can talk about that first.
No, that's absolutely perfect. And you made me think of something that a previous medical student said in our podcast, actually,
Mm,
Jay from Mayo Clinic. He was on our podcast previously. And what sets applicants apart is often introspection and
mm,
really sitting back when they're reviewing their personal statement and saying, well, what is the real reason I want to go into medicine? Yes, it's to help people, but really try to dig deeper. Were there certain experiences you had? And that's something I had to do when I applied to medical school this cycle is like really dig deep into my future and what I wanted to do in the medical field. And I go to therapy every month. And something I always address in my therapy session and they keep on asking me is like, well, take a step back. We're really in deep in this minute detail and like how you feel about this and like not getting the high enough MCAT score or feeling your GPA isn't competitive for certain schools and take a
mm,
step back and be like, well, you know, you have the rest of your life to be a doctor. Focus on the
mhm.
bigger picture of your life and like what you're looking forward to in that moment.
Absolutely. Oh my God, I love that. And I think the fact that most students don't talk about how scared they are or when they fail, they don't
Yeah.
share their failures, I think that kind of nurtures this imposter for absolutely everyone. And I wonder sometimes what it would be like to admit, like, oh no, I did very poorly on this exam, or like, no, my GPA actually slipped last semester. And you might tell your closest friends, but I think just being really transparent about that process and about your failures, I almost feel like when you speak the shame that we sometimes feel of not being good
Yeah.
enough, it takes the power away.
Yeah, a lot of medical schools and secondaries, and I'm sure, Sarah, if you want to elaborate on PA schools, ask like, what is your biggest failure? And I think of instead getting into the nitty gritty details of why you failed, more just like
Mm,
focus on how you felt and how you grew
mm.
from that experience. And, you definitely reminded me of that.
Absolutely. And I just want to say for our listeners out there, I got a D+ in cell bio the first time I took it.
Just
I
kidding.
know. I had to
Own it.
retake it. It was terrifying
Yeah.
failing a class. It was like the scariest thing I experienced. And I was like, how did I even let this happen? I know how I let it happen. And I went into the class not wanting to admit that I'd taken this class before, not wanting people to know that, not wanting my fellow classmates to know. And I taught someone a topic we hadn't learned yet. And he was like, how did you know that? And I was like, this is my moment. I can do it. I can admit it. I'm retaking this class. And it was such a freeing feeling.
Mm.
And honestly, he could have judged me. Maybe he did, and I just didn't notice. And he was like, wow, she failed a class. That's terrible. But I didn't care because admitting that and being honest about that and
Mm.
just like, this is a thing I did. Look at me retaking the class. Good for me. I'm still working on this and improving. So if you ever fail a class, guys, it's okay. I've done it too.
I
It's
Yeah.
love
going
that
to
you
be all
share that.
right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And honestly, it's always tough to admit, especially like academic, I don't want to say failures, but maybe setbacks is a better word. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I failed it.
Yeah.
I
But you're
failed it, and
acing
that's
this. You're
okay.
acing life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think the issue, at least for me, and now I feel old because I feel like I graduated undergrad 10 years ago, so that feels like a milestone. But I feel when you're in academics, and again, I can't speak for the medical world, but I'm assuming it's similar, it becomes your sense of identity as well.
Oh, yeah.
So failing it is not just failing a class, not just letting your GPA drop, it's about an attack or a threat to your sense of identity. A lot of people identify with like, I'm in this department and I want to become this, and then their vocation or job becomes their entire identity, which later on becomes an issue of its own. But I think even while you're in the process, at least it was for me, of like a really hard thing that took years and years and years to really be able to separate who I am as a person and then like Sarah the therapist or Sarah the academic or Sarah the graduate student. Like I think that was an ongoing journey, and the sooner people start that, I think the better it is, because then even if this part doesn't seem as solid, you still have a very complete sense of self and worth that has nothing to do with this one exam.
Yeah. You really hit it on the money. Like, I remember
Yeah.
feeling exactly that way in college. And I just like worked honestly too hard, as I'm gonna admit, in college. Like, I wish
Yeah.
I did more extracurricular activities that I enjoyed rather than worked in my research lab and holed up and studying every single night. Cause I felt like if I didn't get the best grade possible, or, get an A+ in all of my classes, then I
Yeah.
wouldn't be competitive enough for medical school. And like, I would lose my identity, because my identity for me was pre-med. I wanted to be a physician. That's something I wanted more than anything in my whole life. And so when anything I felt like had threatened that identity, like failing an exam or a midterm, it was crushing. And
Uh,
I think it's really hard just with how competitive admissions is, and feeling like, honestly, even reapplications is a huge financial burden, a huge like time burden, and can lead to burnout. And you know, it can cost upwards of $5,000-6,000 every single year to apply to medical
wow.
school. Yeah,
Wow.
like I spent so far $3,000, and in
Oh my
total, I will
god.
likely spend four or $5,000. So it's a big thing, but that's something I'm looking to improve in the future for medical education. We need to improve equity, financial equity, and also like give people more opportunity to apply to medical school without it feeling so down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm kind of wondering, so if you're feeling like your entire identity revolves around school, for people struggling with that, how can you refocus your identity and kind of like create a new one when you're in the thick of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Here's a really embarrassing story. Are you ready for it?
Oh no.
Um,
I
I
love it.
was in, I was, I think, just applying to grad school, so it was like a really stressful time. And I remember starting to see this guy, and we were like kind of casually seeing each other great. And I remember him sitting me down and going like, you're really great, but my God, you're boring. And I just went like, ah. And he went, all
What?
you can talk about is school and applications and exams. And he was like super harsh, may I say? Like, it is not something that I would advise anyone to do ever.
Yeah.
But he was the biggest wake up call where I was
Yeah.
like, what an asshole. Like, I was so offended. I was like, how dare you talk to me like that? Blah, blah, blah. And then once that was done and over with, I sat there, ego aside, being like, is there any truth to what he's saying? Like,
Yeah.
is there? And then I realized that he was like, I don't really know who you are besides your academic stuff. And he wasn't into it. Fair enough. So we weren't compatible that way. But I think it really was like this rude awakening of like, wow, I have nothing else to talk about. Like any conversation will end up being about grad school, about my exam, about school, about a professor, about something
Yeah.
I read. And my gosh, like my relationships were really suffering, but so was my holistic sense of self, which most of us had at some point or attempted to have before starting our academic journey. So I don't know if that resonates with anyone, but that was my experience.
That's
Yeah.
no, that's really relatable. But I think my mom said that to me before a guy did.
Oh, mom.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I know. Like every time I see my family, um, none of my family went into medicine. Like no one really knows or understands any of it. And they're just like, so how's it going? And I tell them all of the things and all of the troubles I'm going through. And they're like, that sounds terrible. And that's honestly, a lot of our conversations. It's like, how are you? I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Oh, normal, you know,
And then
and
you're
that's
like, no one
something I'm trying to
understands
change.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Yeah.
work on it. And I'm like, I a lot of my peers like have parents who are doctors or like siblings who are residents. And I'm like, wow, you guys don't
What is
understand.
that like?
I
What is
know. I'm like just having a built-in mentor who
I
can guide
know.
you through this process. And I know like 20% of medical students have a parent who is a physician. And every secondary application I get, they ask me, is your parent a doctor?
Whoa.
I had
Yeah.
no idea that was a thing.
And I was like, is
Same.
this a big deal? I'm like, we need to stop this.
That's really
Wow.
weird. I seriously had no idea that was a thing. I wonder, huh? Just because you see your parents do it, you want to do it more?
Well, there's like a paradox to that too, because like one of the biggest, I think, issues or one of the worst things you could do for your personal statement is say you want to go into medicine because your parent is a doctor. But then again, like they also want to know that, especially if your doctor went to their school. Because
Yeah.
legacy admissions is still a big deal in medical schools.
Huh. That's really weird. I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
That's
know, probably not for all medical schools, but I think a lot of the Ivies, especially with like,
dang.
yeah,
that's a bit disappointing that would
yeah,
play a factor.
Yeah, I don't like that statistic at all.
sorry, not trying to be a Debbie Downer over here.
That's
Way to ruin the
okay.
vibe. No, I'm just kidding. It's good for
Yeah,
people to know that that's the reality.
I know.
Yeah, you have to be realistic about that kind of stuff because that is so out of your control.
Yeah. And
That's
yeah,
okay.
So
You'll
I
get
didn't
in
answer your
anyway.
question.
yeah, you did.
I just realized I didn't actually answer your question. I want to be realistic in terms of like having gone through a grueling graduate program. You can't just be like, "Ah, it doesn't matter. Make sure you set time up," because that's just not realistic and no one's going to listen, right? But I think finding one thing or one hobby that gives you joy that's not Netflix. So something that still makes you feel connected to you. So I don't care if you're taking like 10 minutes to dance around your living room while you boil like pasta that you're going to eat with butter and salt because you can't be bothered to cook, or like if you're going
That's
to
so
read
me.
a chapter, yeah, if you're going to read a chapter a day, but it's like connecting to different elements of you. So either your body or your emotions or your mind, and really just nurturing that connection. I understand that you can't like get a new hobby and like invest
Yeah.
in, all these relationships, and all of that is super unrealistic. But finding one way to connect to yourself, finding one or two people who you can nurture a relationship with so that your ability to have relationships doesn't kind of get stunted during this process is so important. And being with people that resonate with you will make you feel more like yourself. Doing
Yeah.
even little things that make you feel like yourself, you'll realize that like you are more than this exam, you're more than just your brain, you're more than just your output. I think
Yeah.
it's huge. So tiny, tiny little things I think are realistic.
I think a PSA could be cut out those toxic pre-meds in your life. That's one of the big reasons why I started this podcast, is because a lot of my friends would come up to me who are pre-med and they say, "You're the first person I've known who isn't just like bragging about everything they've done." And I've heard people say that, like, this one person told me that she has had pre-med friends who would hold opportunities or scholarships or resources or research experience opportunities or whatever, like, against people, or not share it with other people because they
Whoa.
didn't want them to get a leg up. And we really need to stop this. And we actually are going to record an episode soon with another pre-med student similar to me, where we're just not like that. It's not in our nature to always be sharing our resume with every friend we meet, because we feel like we need to be competitive in every instance. Um,
Mm,
Maybe not cut out your toxic pre-med friends, but have open conversations with them and say, we need to collaborate and lift each other up. I
mm,
think that's so important.
That kind of leads me into one of the questions I had,
Yeah.
because that really is a way of setting a boundary. So Sarah, how can we set boundaries like that without damaging the relationship? Because I know it's something that we all struggle with. No one wants to set a boundary.
Are you talking specifically about boundaries regarding what? Conversations, about icing people out, boundaries in general?
Let's do
What's the
boundaries
vibe
in
here?
conversations. Like, you feel like you're talking to someone, and every time you have a conversation with them, it starts to feel like they're comparing you
Mm,
to them, and it's becoming like a comparison fest, and it's making you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, my gosh. And I think that that can happen accidentally as well as intentionally. I think the extra competitive people might do it kind of passive aggressively as a way to shake your confidence.
Yeah.
And if you think that that's genuinely what they're doing, I would really question the nature of that friendship.
Right.
And is that a friendship? And why are you so worried about upsetting them with a boundary? If it's someone who is maybe not doing it for that purpose, but genuinely, again, kind of lacks something to talk about and is trying to compare notes mostly because they're freaked out and scared and just want to make sure they're on top of everything,
Yeah.
I think honesty goes a long way. In terms of like, it does not have to be defensive or offensive. It does not have to be like, hey, you keep doing this. It makes me feel like, but it can be like, hey, I'm really struggling with imposter syndrome. I'm
Yeah.
really having a hard time having conversations that are not about school. I'm really having a hard time not comparing myself to other people. So when we have it comes from a place of vulnerability and honesty. So when we have these conversations, I tend to feel worse about myself. I tend to question myself. I tend to get more anxiety. And I really, really like you. I value our study time together. I value our in and out, takeout, whatever. I
Yeah.
but like, can we just not do that for my own sake? Like, this is not a conversation I can offer you. I hope you can respect that. And it really has nothing to do with them, but it's like you being honest about what you need to protect your space and your peace. And I think it's like a blueprint. It's saying, this is who I am. Please respect who I am. And it's not about you at all.
I love that so much. I think that last part you said, like, it's not about you so much, I think is also very important to share and
Mhm.
say. And I loved how you were focusing on how I feel rather than what you're doing. I think that's
Exactly.
something that's really important to keep doing in those types of conversations.
It also disarms people because I think people get defensive whenever they think they're doing something wrong. Even if you're setting a boundary, most people go, I'm doing something wrong. And so then
Yeah.
they react to that, which makes sense. I think we all do. It's very human. But I think realizing it's really not about you or your fault. And I understand that this is how everyone in this program is having these conversations. I think is really like disarming, and someone seeing your vulnerability is really powerful. Now, if
Mhm.
they push after they see your vulnerability, I would really get the individual to reassess that relationship, because if you're that vulnerable to go, hey, I feel insecure in this program. And so when we have these conversations, I feel worse, and then they keep doing it, maybe it's time to the next boundary can be actual distance, less time together, less conversations together, whatever you need.
Absolutely. It's so important to be in tune with yourself that you understand what is upsetting you so that
Mhm.
you can try to set these boundaries and just have open conversations like this. It's something that I know it took me a long time to learn.
Mhm. I love that you talk about awareness. If you don't know what's upsetting you, you're gonna have such a hard time communicating or setting an appropriate boundary. You might set a boundary that has nothing to do. It'll be the least helpful boundary ever. And that's what people don't understand. Boundaries themselves aren't helpful. Boundaries that actually reflect you and your needs and your wants and your awareness are effective. Boundaries by themselves are not.
Oh my gosh,
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah, I also wanted to ask this other question. This were kind of related to how I started off with my first question, but I always feel like I have to be the absolute best in what I do. And I feel really terrible when I don't do better than my classmates. Is that
Mm.
a bad thing? And how can I improve that mindset?
So I don't love the use of bad or good, because now we're
Okay.
getting into the judgment territory. And I don't think this needs to be this narrative doesn't have to come from a place of judgment, but curiosity in terms of like, why do I have the need to be better? I think that's such a
Yeah.
productive question rather than like, is it bad? There's some people that are just competitive, like whatever, sure. Most of us want to be better though it for a sense of security. I need to secure a position, I do need to secure a ranking, I need to secure a whatever. It's not just I want to be better than Sally. Like that's usually not the motivation itself. Um, and also a sense of belonging. It's shocking how many of us think our worth is correlated with our output.
Yeah.
And so when we want to be better, most people are actually seeking for a sense of worth and
Mhm.
acknowledgement and a value more than just beating out the class for their ego, at least in my experience, although I'm sure there are some. And some are doing it because their parents put pressure on them. Some are doing
Yeah.
like there's always the why. And so I go back to, why do you feel like you need to be better than everyone else? Is it for others? Is it for yourself? Are you just competing with yourself? And this is like a way to kind of get a better read of how well you're doing. But I think whenever our happiness is based on comparing ourselves to others, we're in trouble. So
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
happy with what you got on your test, awesome. If you're only happy because then you realize no one else got as high of a grade, but
Yeah.
before that you were devastated because you didn't think it was high enough, then you're in trouble because your happiness has nothing to do with what you accept, what you want. It has everything to do with how you compare to everyone else.
Yeah. Oh my God. Get
That was
off.
so long.
No, that was great. Get off pre-med Reddit, everybody.
Ooh,
Stop
yeah, don't go on
going
there.
on there. I have peers come up to me, they're like, well, I looked on Reddit and I saw this thing. I'm like, first of all, don't ever say that question again.
Ah, what were you doing there? Get off.
I know, because when I first started studying for the
What
MCAT,
is that? I
Pre-med
feel like
Reddit or Reddit?
No, I know. So, okay, guys, come on. Pre-med Reddit.
So it's like our pre-med is like the channel for
Okay, so it's just a
pre-meds.
specific channel where pre-meds bitch talk,
Pretty
complain,
much.
compare. Okay.
Compare is the big thing. A lot of MCAT comparison that I like every time I went on there. I mean, there is also our MCAT, but also our pre-med is the same where it's like I applied to 30 schools and I got 15 acceptances, or I got a 527 in my MCAT, near perfect. And I started off with like 470 MCAT. It's just like blown out of proportion comparisons. And when I first went on there and people were like, this is all I did. I studied for 1 month and I got a 522 in the MCAT, which is a really high score. And it's just not realistic. And a lot of people compare themselves and realize, oh, why am I not getting this score in this time frame? Or am I not putting in the effort? I'm just not that good at taking the MCAT or studying for this. And every person's path is different. Every person's journey is different. And gosh, like when I went on Reddit, I was like, oh my God, I'm doing everything wrong. And why is this taking me 6 months instead of 1 month? And my boyfriend at the time was like, get off Reddit. Nothing good happens from there. He goes, everybody is lying. I'm like, how do you know? And he's like, these many people getting this score, like it doesn't add up. So even if it's not true, or even if it's like not true, it still makes me feel better. I'm like, okay, well, they're just lying and I'll just not go on there.
Now I'm just curious if there's a psych Reddit. Sorry.
There probably is.
Did I miss out?
There so is.
There's a Costco Reddit.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I didn't know about it.
I'll find it and send you the link.
Thanks. Oh my God.
But it's so important that you're not trying to like almost reenact someone else's journey. No one, just because it worked for someone once doesn't mean it's going to work for you this time. Yeah. So you really have to focus on your own personal path, your own personal growth. This is not a reenactment. You can't go and just copy Lexi. Yes, she started an amazing company, but like we can't just copy her. It's not going to work the same. It's already been done. You have to find your own inspiration in things. You can't just follow someone's footsteps. This isn't like walking in the snow. This is walking in the rain. The footsteps disappear as fast as you go.
Yeah, whatever you.
Beautiful. Wow. Yes, more.
I was a theater kid. Sometimes it comes out in weird ways.
I love it.
That's why she's my co-host.
You guys are amazing.
Oh, thanks.
Oh my gosh. I know when Sarah initially Sarah joined our organization, the National Braille Community, which started this podcast back in 2021. And this past year, I wasn't really sure how to structure my team. And she just emailed me like this beautiful essay about everything she had done for us and what she had hoped for the future and how she wanted to be in this position. And I was like, this is amazing. I need more people who take initiative and like have that vision.
That's so sweet.
It's really a small percentage of like people out there who are like, can be really passionate about a project like this and want to take initiative and be leaders. And that's okay. Like if you're a follower, like that's totally fine. But I just really admire.
She created her own path.
Yeah.
Right? That's what she did. But no, I think that's really, really cool. And the one thing that I see with incredibly successful people, be it in business or medicine, and I have so many friends who are doctors, it's like they weren't scared to do something that no one's done. They weren't scared to take a risk. They weren't scared to try and pave the way in some way. And it could have backfired, but I feel like it so rarely does to the extent that people fear it would. And it often comes with such benefits. And I love the whole pave your own way, because ultimately, the things you're worried about now are not going to matter in like 5 years.
Oh my God, I know.
It's like, and do it in a way you want to do it and be proud of it and enjoy it as much as you can.
Absolutely.
Aw.
Oh, that was hilarious. Aw.
Aw.
I say it a lot in the podcast. I'm like, aw. You could probably put together a compilation.
You should.
Awes. Oh, that's awesome.
I have like key phrases where it's like, absolutely.
Oh,
Definitely.
I say
Oh my
100%,
gosh.
and then I had to stop because I noticed.
Oh,
I was like 100%.
I
My
love that.
fiance says that
Ah,
constantly.
yeah, yeah. I'm
My
trying to
sister,
stop.
yeah, my little sister makes fun of him for it. It's pretty funny. It's like 100%.
100%. Love it.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, I would love to transition over to our game.
Yay.
Yay.
For our listeners, please don't sue us. We did not copy this from Vogue. This is totally my own original idea and thought process. So we're gonna do a little
I think you're
quick
allowed to ask
interview.
questions.
I'm allowed to
Yeah.
ask questions. We're gonna do a quick like speed round interview. We're gonna do 7 minutes with Sarah. And we're gonna see what her thoughts are on all of my little questions.
I'm scared.
So you got this. You ready?
I'm ready.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how excited are you to answer these interview questions today?
8.
What's your favorite color?
I'm sorry. I'm so upset. I am so honest. 2%, I was
8?
scared, okay?
What the
I was
heck?
2%, I was scared. Come on.
Hey, 8 was pretty good. I was
Vulnerability
like,
here. Okay,
there you go.
fine,
I got a
9.
B.
9, fine, 9. I'm 9 excited.
Don't get peer pressured into changing your answer by like
Okay,
me.
I'm just gonna make
thank
faces
you.
over here and be like, that's
Yeah,
bad.
that's bad. Favorite color, green.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
Grab my phone.
Same.
It's
Terrible.
like
Yes,
it's an issue.
it's an issue.
Addiction.
Yeah.
What is one thing you hope that people will say about you?
Oh my God. That I cared.
How do
Oh,
you take your coffee?
I only have decaf because caffeine messes with my nervous system and I get stressed and anxious. So I have a decaf latte.
oh.
What would you say is the biggest impact being a digital nomad has had on you?
Oh, it's changed my life. Literally, in like every
Fair.
sense, like personally, professionally, the friends I make, it's been life changing.
What is one word you'd use to describe psychotherapy?
Deep.
Oh,
Do you speak any other languages?
Yes, I speak Serbian and then
what?
like a bit of all the Slavic. Yeah, I'm Serbian Canadian, so I'm fluent in Serbian,
Oh,
Bosnian, Croatian. I mean, it's all kind of variations of one another, but yeah.
that's awesome. I'm
Thanks. I'm
jealous.
learning Korean right now, but I'm not fluent.
That's cool.
That's
Thanks.
awesome. I'm trying to learn Spanish. It's not going well.
Ooh, fun.
Eee.
So now that we've mentioned you're Canadian, everyone knows when Canadians say sorry, but what is another common Canadian phrase?
A.
There you
Fair.
go. That was my second pick. I was like, should I use sorry or A?
They're both equally good.
They are. Do you remember taking on the role of a therapist for any friends or family when you were growing up?
Ooh. Yes, definitely. I feel like in my friends circle, when they wanted to actually do something, create any kind of change, not just bitch, most of them would kind of come and then it was kind of come to Jesus with Sarah.
Oh,
That's awesome.
I don't know if I wasn't qualified, obviously, but I feel like I was all about truth and change and just feeling our
yeah.
feelings.
I love that. That's how the other Sarah here is to me.
Oh,
Just call her randomly.
I love that.
She's my second boyfriend.
That's so cute.
Boyfriend number
Is her
Yeah.
two.
fiance jealous?
Oh, my
Only
boyfriend's jealous.
sometimes. Only sometimes.
Love it.
Did you ever lock yourself in a cabin in the woods or in a beach house on the beach when you were trying to write your book?
Yeah. I mean, nothing that exciting or exotic, but I I would lock myself away in my apartment for weeks at a time, and then my sister would come and just bring me food, and I wouldn't shower, and I would just sit there and work for hours on end. It wasn't like when I first started writing my book, I was still traveling around, so I don't even know what countries I was in, France and Italy and Austria and
Wow.
Serbia, and so it was this book was written all over the world, but then when push came to shove and kind of the final manuscript was being edited and read by me, I locked myself in my apartment in Sydney.
That's all in Sydney, Australia?
I live in Australia. Yeah, sorry, I'm
Oh,
actually based in Australia now. It's really confusing. Don't worry about it. Yeah,
that's really
Don't
cool.
worry, it's fine. I just live in a different country.
yeah, actually, yes. This is my first time in Canada in years, but it's nice to be back.
That's awesome. What TV or movie character do you most relate to?
My gosh,
I know, I don't even know.
I don't know. I'm stressed out. What character? Oh, I would like to think I was as cool as Donna from Suits. Like, I don't know if you guys have watched, but
Yes,
you know, she's
I
just
can
like
see that.
so witty and charming, but so good at her job and so no bullshitty. I like her vibe. I wish I was like her.
I can see it. I think you've got her in ya.
Thank you. Just
Yeah.
fine tune.
More
Yeah.
personable than Donna, honestly.
Thank you. I think so. I mean, it comes with the profession, but yes, I think I'm a lot more probably empathetic and gentle. But
Definitely.
I do like her character a lot. It's a cool way to portray a woman.
It
Yeah.
is. It totally is.
Mhm.
When you pick up your phone, who is the person you're most frequently dialing?
My sister.
Oh,
She's my best friend.
Do you think we will ever see you in a TV show or a documentary?
Yes, hope so.
gasp.
Do you
I
have
hope
any
so.
guilty pleasures?
I don't feel guilty about any of my pleasures.
I love that.
Yeah, there you go.
Me too. You know what?
Yeah.
What is your go-to happy hour place?
Like for drinks?
Yeah.
I don't actually drink. I mean, I really rarely. It's not because I think, yeah, I don't care for it. But I do like a martini when I'm in New York. It makes me feel really cool. So I drink
Oh
martinis
my
when I'm in
God.
New York.
I just
It's kind
think
of an inside joke, but I I genuinely like martinis and I only drink them in New York. So that's it.
It's
I
like
love that.
smoking cigarettes in Paris. You have to do it.
Exactly. It's like a contextual thing.
Yes, I get it. I totally get that.
Love that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, that was my last question for you.
Whoa.
I love that. Can you do
You
me
That was
made
next?
so
it.
fun. You did a great job.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
I
You
like how
made it
stressful
through.
it is. You're like,
Like,
what do I
wait.
like? You forget everything about yourself.
Yeah. And then like how they do it on the third party whatever show that I'm not going to name. They like
It's
walk
rehearsed
through.
though. Of course, they know the questions, guys. Come on, they're not
Yeah, it's
actually thinking
totally
on the spot.
rehearsed. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
They're way too rapid fire with that. They definitely like ran through
And
that
they're like,
6 times.
and then come with like the best answer, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Like, sure.
sure.
Yeah. Ours were more real. 100%.
Ours were real.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us and for talking to us about imposter syndrome and all things mental health. And if you want to just take a minute and let us know where we can find you and all the details about your book that's being released here soon, go right ahead. Everyone's going
Way
to
to
want to find
set
you
me up.
after. You're welcome.
Yeah. No, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. It was very fun. I love what you're all doing. Your mission is incredible. It's amazing. I wish I had people like you during my graduate program. So I am just, my heart is full watching you work and do your magic.
Oh, that's
Um,
really sweet. Thank you.
well, I mean it. Again, chronically honest. I don't lie about things like that.
Good to
No, you
know.
can find me on millennial.therapist on Instagram. That's my kind of primary social media. And you can find me trickle stuff on others.
Yeah.
I do have a newsletter, which is really fun. It comes out roughly once a week. So if you want more juicy content, I have I have a newsletter on Substack under my name, Sarah Kubrick. And then my new book is coming out, which is something I'm most proud of, most excited about. It's called It's on Me. It's out September 19. And you can find it anywhere they sell books, essentially. So there you
That's
go.
tomorrow. It comes out tomorrow, guys.
Wait, did I say what? Oh, tomorrow. Yes, it comes out tomorrow. And the book is really fun. It answers 2 questions. Who am I and why am I here? So if that's something you're struggling with, that's the book for you.
Ooh, can we pre-order?
You sure can, and please do. Although this will
Yeah.
be kind of irrelevant for the podcast, but
It's a little late to
Great.
pre-order now.
I'll
but
pre-order right now.
Lexi
So
and I
pre-order.
pre-ordered.
That's really great for authors. Pre-orders are important. So there you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us, and I'll roll the credits real quick. This podcast was produced by Ari Rosenthal, Lorelai Edmonds, and DT Kalande. You can find our conference and all events on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn at National Pre-Health Community or NPHC 2020. And you can find our podcast and all updates on Instagram at the Pre-Health Pod. All of our events, including an upcoming research symposium, our next National Pre-Health Conference in the spring, and a special event for exclusive for future physician assistants, can all be found at our website at nationalprehealthconf.org. And please leave a review, and tell one friend if you liked our podcast. Thanks for listening. See you later.